This episode is presented by Minnesota Spine and Sport. Move better, feel better, live better. Well, welcome to Twin Cities Leaders. I'm your host, Kevin King, and I'm joined today by a special guest, the mayor of Woodbury, Mayor Burt. Welcome to Twin Cities Leaders.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
So I got to give my audience a backstory of how we met. So Talia Wright, who is a reporter for the Pioneer Press, was featuring Twin Cities Leaders in the paper a couple of weeks ago, back in July. And as I was preparing for her interview, I looked at all of her recent stories, and I came across yours about you winning the Emerging Leader Award.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to reach out to Mayor Burt. I live in Woodbury. This is a perfect connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm excited to have you here. So I just want to run down some quick things here. You've lived in Woodbury for 20 years?
21 years.
21 years, hold a bachelor's degree in chemistry, right? And been have a career, 30 years in business and marketing with an emphasis on water control.
Yeah. Water.
Right?
Yep.
And then you've been the mayor here in Woodbury since 2019.
Correct. That's right.
Wow, so I got that right. Okay.
All the data's right.
All right. So for my audience who may not be familiar with how does one get to a mayoral seat, can you just talk to us about your background and what led up to you becoming mayor?
Sure. Well, I think my story is very different than how most people do it. Most people, I think, find ways to volunteer in the community or be on a commission in the community. But often the major role to get there is they want to be on city council. And from city council, you kind of learn how government works, and then you move up and elevate to your position of mayor if that's part of your calling. Mine was a bit different. When we moved here 21 years ago, I was working in this industry. As you said, it's the water treatment industry. And then also having children at home, just active and involved in a lot of things, whether it was their school activities or sports or what have you. So did a lot of different sports coaching, as we are called to do as parents of young kids, and active in just a lot of other ways. Just really got into the community and just really loved everything about it. But I've always had some interest in local government, just fascinated with how it works and how you form community and what makes a difference. So I did pursue opportunities to be on a commission. And Woodbury has 4 different commissions. They're appointed positions, appointed by the city council. It's the Audit and Investment Commission. I love financial stuff, but I don't have a background there. That wasn't going to be a role. Planning Commission was always fascinated with. Parks and Rec Commission, and Economic Development Commission. So I applied, we interviewed, and I was appointed to the Parks and Rec Commission, which is a great opportunity. I love everything about our sports, our parks, our trails here in Woodbury. So that worked out perfectly. And then I had a chance to move on and was appointed then to the Planning Commission, which is the commission that looks at how do we plan and grow our community, what new businesses go where, how things work, what we approve buildings at, and all that. From there, then, one of the things that's unique to the Twin Cities areas that our Metropolitan Council requires local community cities and in the local 7 metropolitan area to put together a plan that's called the Comprehensive Plan. It's done every 10 years. And it looks forward 20 years into the future to determine how is land going to be used and how does land get developed. It's a really, really comprehensive plan that gets done. So I was asked to be on the task force for that. And we worked together in the city of Woodbury with the mayor was on it, another city council person, other community members, people that were, had some stake in the community to work on this plan. It took about 2.5 years to develop it. Then it has to go through all these approval processes. But that really gave me a really in-depth look at how the community works. Tied to that, I also joined a training or learning program that we have here in the city of Woodbury that's offered by our Woodbury Community Foundation. And it's called Community Academy. And it's for residents to come and learn about how's the community function, work, and operate. And it was just fascinating. So tied to all that, combined with the fact that my youngest child was headed off to college, my husband's like, what are you going to do with yourself? I'm like, well, I'm plenty busy. But he's like, you should look at, another role or another opportunity. So I really toyed with the idea of just, the next step being city council. That's how a lot of people do it. But at the time, our current mayor was not going to seek re-election. After speaking with other council members, it seemed as though nobody was in the position or interest to take on that role as mayor. And so, having never even been on city council, I thought, I'm just going to go for the mayor job. Someone's got to do it. At the time, I knew personally that I had the ability and qualifications to do it. So I went for that, and then I won election, and I became the mayor.
So what was that transition like, coming from like maybe like a non-governmental job into governmental work? What was that transition like for you?
That was really interesting because, again, my whole background has been in the business world.
Yeah.
So moving into a governmental world, it requires a little bit more patience. Things take a lot more time to make decisions. And it makes sense when you step back and understand why we even establish government, have taxes. We've got staff people that are there to do their job, but there's got to be somebody in oversight looking at the tax dollars and how they're used and utilized. So it makes sense that we've got the structure that way, but with that comes all this extra work to make sure that we're spending money correctly. So not just from a budget point of view, but from decisions we make, we need to get community input on any major decision or even simple decisions.
Yeah.
Everything is open to the public for scrutiny and discussion. So all that takes time versus working in the business world. Some leader makes a decision, we're going this way, and boy, everyone starts moving in that direction.
Yeah.
So that's the part that you really have to have a little bit more patience and understanding and understand why the process goes that way.
Did that take a lot of time for you, or did you kind of pick up on
Well,
it?
it kind of was like, can't we just move forward? Oh, no, we need to do it this way. So you figure it out pretty quickly.
So it sounds like it was a natural like progression just throughout your career,
Right.
to get to this seat.
Exactly. Yes. It seemed to work and flow really well, I thought. Yeah.
So again, I've never spoken to a mayor before. So what's it like being a mayor?
Well, it's fascinating, and I have to say it's probably a little bit different being a mayor of a suburban community than it is one of our major cities, because their roles get a lot more involved, and they're full-time, and they've got full-time staff, and all these people to help them. Mayors in suburban cities, really, we're technically part-time mayors. We're paid really like not even minimum wage when you look at the amount of hours that you put in. It's almost a volunteer role. But, I just love it because I love our community so much. I love the people that are here. We're a growing community. We're a strong community. A lot of things happening here that make life really great. And I just want to keep contributing to having that happen.
100%.
So I've got to do governmental things. I mean, we prepare for significant meetings every month. We've got official meetings in our council chambers. We legislate, we make decisions, we govern on things. That's got to be done. But we also do these workshop meetings twice a month where we're discussing upcoming issues that we need to be more informed about. We need to study an issue. We were talking off camera earlier about our new Central Park that's under development and being reconstructed. We're very excited for the opening of that. But that's taken 10 years to get to the point where we're now in construction and it's going to open in October. Great. But there's a lot of prep work that goes into, do we expand? How do we expand? How do we pay for it? So all that takes time, and that's all done through a series of workshop meetings over time for whatever the issue is.
So let's transition to this League of Minnesota Cities Emerging Leader Award. That's a mouthful,
It is.
by the way. And it recognizes leaders who have been in government less than 8 years. So I want to go behind the scenes with this. How did you find out, like, you were even a nominee? And were you like, I'm thinking, like, were you at, like, this award show and your family's around the table? What was it like?
Well, when I found out that I was awarded it, we were actually at the League of Minnesota Cities does an annual conference every year, and it was up in Duluth. And usually I go to that by myself. But this year my husband's in a little flex job. He's got a little more time. He can do things remote. And I just said to him, it's been a long time since we've been to Duluth together. Would you want to come with me? We have a dinner to do, and we can spend a little extra time doing things up in Duluth. And he was like, well, sure, let's do it. I was a little surprised by how quick he answered that, but away we go to this conference, and attended meetings during the day, and then showed up for this. They do an awards dinner every year, so everyone gathers. It's really a lovely, lovely event. And I do know from having been there previously that they have different awards, and what happens is up comes a video and there are city administrators on it. And I knew right then and there that I was receiving the award for that. So
okay.
It came as very much a surprise.
It was a surprise. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it like, when you're at like the Golden Globes and there's like 4 other mayors there?
Yeah, except for in this case, there's 80 or 90 other mayors there and a lot of staff people and all. So you just don't know that it's going to happen. So
they call your name and what was your reaction?
I go to that because my first thing is like, I can't believe this has happened. And I just feel so honored and privileged to have been nominated and then to receive the award. It just really strikes my heart. Mm-hmm. So this is my first thing. I clutch myself like, wow, I can't believe this happened. And just so honored. And again, it's such a privilege to work in this role as mayor for this really wonderful city. And it honored me tremendously.
What does it mean to you, like, when you won it, just like professionally and personally? Because again, like, this has been like an evolution of your career and it has led to this.
It came as a big surprise. It's nice. I'm not one that always likes to be in the spotlight, but you're doing this podcast and I've got a photo shoot later today because the League of Minnesota Cities publishes a journal every month or so, and you're going to be written up in there. So what I'm happy about is that it really turns the spotlight on our city. And I don't need the spotlight on myself, but turn the spotlight on our city because we are a tremendous and wonderful city. And often we're in the shadows of all the cities on the West Metro that tend to get a lot of focus and attention. And of course, our big twin cities, St. Paul and Minneapolis, get a lot of attention. We are really the economic hub here in the East Metro, and we've got a lot of great things going. People
Absolutely.
love living in this community, and I just want to help turn the spotlight on all the good things that are happening here.
I don't, again, even as a resident, that makes me feel good, that I have a mayor who is doing all these amazing things and being recognized for it as well. How did you celebrate, or did you celebrate when you won?
I was out looking for a martini that night, and I actually found one. I was looking for a specific espresso martini, so we went and celebrated that. But there we are in this room with hundreds of people, so that was really quite a highlight. I did get brought up to the stage. It would have been nice maybe if I had a little tip. I might have known to say something really unique and special. But when you're caught off guard, you just say whatever comes out of your mouth. So,
yes.
But it was just a lovely celebration. The league will come to a city council meeting later in the month of August and do an official award there at city council. And I think with that, we'll have some friends and family who are able to come and join.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, I want to read a quote from Mayor James Hovland of Edina. And here's what he wrote, what he said about you in his letter of support. He said, her leadership has been marked by humility, integrity, and focus on collective impact. She elevates others, listens carefully, and guides with clarity, always keeping the broader community impact at heart. What does it feel like to have one of your peers say that about you?
Well, and especially for Jim Hovland to have been one to have said that, because he's such a well-respected mayor in our community. It just really warms my heart for him to recognize that in me. Jim and I served together in a couple other organizations. We're on the Regional Council of Mayors together. He's on the executive committee. I'm one of the co-chairs for that committee. So we work together there, plan those events, plan those meetings. We're also work together on the Minnesota Legislative Commission, which is a coalition of cities that work with a lobbyist to help make sure that the voices of our communities get heard in the state legislature when they're making laws. So working with Jim and his reputation in the Twin Cities area is tremendous. So really feel honored to have him say those words about me.
That was awesome when I read that. When, I teach at the University of Minnesota, and I teach an organization and management of sport class. And so when I read this, it reminds me of a leadership style that is a servant leader with emotional intelligence. And so would that be an accurate description of how you lead?
I think you've nailed it. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I said, man, this is what it sounds like to me. And so in my class, we do an assignment. It's a leadership analysis where students interview or they analyze 2 leaders that they've worked with, and they identify like what their leadership styles are. And they also too have an opportunity to figure out what their leadership style is or what they would like it to be. So if you were talking to my students who are listening, what advice, or even someone who just can't figure out what their leadership style is yet, like how do you identify it?
Yeah, well, I think I think my biggest thing is collaboration. I go into anything I do with collaborating effort in mind. The mayor can't do anything by herself or himself. It takes a group. We have to work together with our city councils. We make decisions. I don't, in my role, unlike some mayors that have a veto role, I don't in mine. So we need to collaborate and discuss and work through issues and come to decisions and help one another get to the right decision. So it takes collaboration in that way. Also, in terms of working with our city staff, we've got a staff of over 300 people, and we've got, a key leader, our city administrator, and we've got key department heads. But, we all want to do the right thing. We all want to move the city forward and do it in the right way. So I don't ever come in and with my own ideas and force things upon people. It's, what is it we're trying to do collectively? And coming to a common understanding and then working toward that. The emotional intelligence part is interesting that you pick up on that. I just think that, and that is often something that you can't teach someone. You kind of either have it or you don't. And I just think throughout my life experiences, I've gained that and had the ability to connect with people. And I do think connecting with individuals, is very important. So
100%.
I love to, find connections. You and I spoke once earlier and found a common connection of tennis.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
I think all that helps to be a real person and to appreciate everyone that comes to the table with something that they have to offer. And again, we all want to move in the right direction when we're working together in an organization.
And I think too, like sometimes people are modeling these behaviors, but they can't put a finger on like what it is. Like they may be emotionally intelligent, but they may not understand what emotional intelligence is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or servant leader. Or, some people are, this is how I want to do it. And, it's a lot of times in sports it's like that because with coaches, it's, you don't get things done in 3 years, you're going to be fired.
Yeah.
Right. So
right. Yeah.
you don't have time.
Right. Yeah. Can I speak to that servant leadership too?
Yeah.
That just goes back to, I went to a University of Dayton in Ohio, which is a religious-based school, not heavy religion, but their motto, they've been around for over 150 years, has always been about servant leadership. So, leaving high school, leaving my home, leaving my family, and going off on my own, and knowing that that's part of the culture. That was just part of what we learn to do. Is we are here to learn, to be students, to work in our community, and to give back in some way. So that's just stuck with me, my whole life, is that piece of servant leadership.
So background is key in what you're exposed to early on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, one of my passions is how successful teams are created and how people build trust and create cultures and environments where people want to be a part of. And I practice that, in my classes or as a tennis coach or whatever. I'm always trying to create these environments that are healthy. And so I'm curious for you, like, once you got into the mayoral seat, how did you go about creating culture in an environment that people wanted to be a part of?
Well, I think early on and maybe it's because I didn't know a lot about being a mayor when I got into it, or even how council worked, because I've been to a couple of meetings, but I hadn't really done it. I just start by asking a lot of questions. What do we do? What works? What doesn't work? How do we make things happen? What are the different personalities that we're dealing with? So really just asking a lot of questions. Here I am talking a lot. This is not my normal style. I am normally the question asker, and I learn and pick up from people.
Yeah.
So
how long then? Let's say like you came in 2019. It's 6 years now. Like when do you feel like your style, your culture was resonating with people?
Yeah. Well, I think I think within a few months, only because I didn't come in with my own ideas and forcing them on people. Really came to learn and understand. So I think that set the tone pretty early on. I know just through having discussions that anytime there's a political change, a mayor change, or what have you in an organization, how much it impacts staff. Everything about what they do is there to meet the needs of council. And if there's discord, boy, they feel it and it impacts them. So, I knew how important it was that they can build trust with myself and my leadership, that we as a collaborative team of council members can earn their trust was really important. Now, some unique things about the state of Minnesota, and I'm not sure how it works in other states, but we as a council cannot spend a lot of time personal together because we meet open meeting laws. We violate those. So we can't spend time collaborating as for example, a board of directors would for a corporation, where they can spend social time together, or they go for their big meetings and they're all interconnected. We can't do that. To be in a public setting, there's 5 of us on council. We can only have 2 of us present at a time.
Why?
It's an open meeting law that exists here in the state of Minnesota. So it's the thought that if there's going to be any discussion about anything that's going to be made a decision on a policy level, that there needs to be public present. So to avoid, or, we could get together. Let's say I could throw a party at my house, but I'd have to let the entire community know that we're having it, and we'd have a lot more people there. So I cannot do that with our members. So we can only meet 2 at a time. So for me, that was one of the hardest things, was building that collaboration with other council members when you don't have a lot of time to really spend getting to know them as people and all, as you would, again, in the business world, or as staff would have an opportunity to do. So that made it a little bit more difficult. Now, one little thing that did happen is that when I ran for election, there were 2 other council members who also ran. So 3 of us were brand new and won the election in November at the same time. But we weren't sworn in until January. So the 3 of us had time to get to know one another, to know one another's spouses, to understand what we're all about, so that allowed us to form a bit of a connection and a bond there before we were sworn in. So that helped carry us through.
What was it like? Because you took this position right when COVID started, or 6 months after, 5 months. 2019, it started in 2020.
Yeah.
What added pressures or elements, factored into your leading the city during that time?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, we were all so impacted by it, right? I mean, it was where we used to meet in person and get things done. Everything is now virtual. We were fortunate, though, in that our IT department was, they didn't see COVID was coming, but they were moving in the direction of allowing us to do a lot of things virtually. So we had set up Teams as a way, Teams being a software application that allowed us to meet in a virtual way. So we pivoted pretty quickly. Everyone had the ability to work from home pretty instantly. So we didn't really skip a beat.
Okay.
But it did make, it just, because the whole world didn't know what was going on, right? It just slowed everything down tremendously.
Yeah.
But we just learned to work through it. I'm pretty proud of ourselves for how we got through that.
It was a tough time.
It was tough.
And I mean, it's hard to even believe like that was 5 years ago, or it's kind of subsided 3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Just with
but
education.
It was pretty intense.
Yeah.
At the same time, what's interesting for our city is that we declared 3 emergency declarations all within like a 6-month period of time. We've never had an emergency declaration ever, and it's a special, unique thing to call an emergency. It gives you some rights to do some other things. So we did one for COVID. We did one because we were having a water issue with PFAS in our water, which is another whole topic. But we had to declare an emergency to get a temporary water treatment plant built quickly to remove PFAS from our water. In addition, we had all this social unrest going on, so we had to do an emergency declaration tied to that. So, I mean, it was tumultuous early on, like really tumultuous.
Yeah.
But
you jumped right in.
Jumped right in, and again, with calmness and, making decisions in a thoughtful way, we were able to move forward. No panic. Let's just work through and figure out what we need to do.
I am a big sports person. That's been my career. I played sports growing up and, been in the sport industry for 20 years now. And so, but I know you like sports too. And you talked earlier about us playing tennis. You enjoy tennis. I enjoy tennis as well. So I wanted to transition into, did you play sports growing up?
I wish I had the opportunity to play a lot more sports growing up, because I do come from, I believe, an athletic family. But based on my age, I'm kind of a Title IX baby. And because of that, there were not a lot of women's sports. Yes, there were some, but not nearly how ubiquitous it is today to have all these options and offerings. So I didn't have a lot of opportunity. So I was always the sports wannabe. I always wanna. So I dabbled in various things, and then I've done some individual things. I like to stay in shape. I like to work out, all that. But I really picked up tennis as an adult about 15 years ago. And then now it's just become a passion of mine. And I always tell my husband, he's like, you play a lot, or you find time for it all. I go, Well, I didn't have all those chances as a kid like you did. You played football and you got to play soccer and all these things as a kid. I missed out on some of that because there just wasn't a lot of opportunity in the communities that I grew up in. So I'm making up for it now.
If you were able to, what sport do you think you would have gravitated towards?
I would have played women's soccer without a doubt, and I would have played tennis. I would have played volleyball. I did pick up a little basketball, but having not started as a youth, all the skills you need to develop, you can't start that in high school. So those would have been, team sports would totally have been my thing. And then lacrosse, too. I mean, we've learned to embrace and love lacrosse. My son was able to play as a youth. It became a sanctioned sport here in the state of Minnesota several years ago. So the growth of lacrosse for men and women has been tremendous.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Now, but you do enjoy coach, or you have coached.
It's amazing how you can step in and without, basic skills and abilities, but more than anything, and I know you coach tennis, right? So it's working with youth and whatever level they are and encouraging them. You can figure out what some of the drills and things are that they need to work on and do. But more than anything, I think it's creating that camaraderie and that teamwork, again, in a team sport, to, help an athlete. Where are they now with their skills? What might they need to work on? How do we work together as a team? It's all those team building things, I think, that really make a difference in coaching.
I had one of my tennis players from last season, 2 of them sent me these note cards that talked about how, they enjoyed having me as a coach, and that, drills were hard, but it was fun. That it inspired them to want to play tennis. And we know oftentimes, particularly with women, like they make a decision to play sports or not at 14. If they don't like it by 14, they don't want to do it. They want to do it. So, and it's, so to your point, like it's almost more important than building those relationships and confidence than it actually is them playing the sport, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it isn't necessarily the skill of the sport, but it's being together on a team and working to improve yourself, setting a goal, moving in that direction. Getting better at something.
So those coaching lessons, have you been able to translate them into your mayoral role, or vice versa? Did your professional work help you in coaching?
Yeah, I think it all just kind of blended together. In my professional role, I was in management and worked with a team and had to develop people. So that, tied into just even raising kids, what it takes to coach kids through things. Or sometimes your own kids don't want to hear you and listen to you. So you work with your neighbors' kids, in this community of raising children together. It takes that village kind of thing. Just helping, and I think more than anything, people just need encouragement, right? Whether it's an employee of yours or a student or an athlete on your team, encouragement and support, and giving them a lot of
and care that you care about them. You know what I mean? And when I say care, like I don't mean like you have to know everyone's business, but people have to know that you care about them, because I feel like they can take criticism and feedback easier if they know you care about them than if they don't think you care about them. They're not going to listen to you.
And that gets back to a point you made earlier. It's really establishing trust. And how do you establish trust that, you have someone else's best interest at heart? And it's knowing them individually, working with them individually, and then looking together, how does that impact the entire team?
So I have a tennis analogy for you. So and I'm gonna relate this back to government. So, okay, here we go. In tennis, some points are won through long rallies, while others are quick and decisive. What's a long rally project in Woodbury that's taken time but will be a big win? And what's a quick point initiative where residents are already seeing results?
Okay, well, that is a great question. I love how you tied all that together. I'm going to talk about our water treatment issue. So like I said, we had to declare this state of emergency back with PFAS in our water. PFAS is a chemical that's leaked into the groundwater system through disposal sites of this product that was made. And PFAS chemistry itself it's been kind of a miraculous chemistry, but it's now, if it gets into our water system, but it's also available in many consumer products that we have. It's got some detrimental effects. So we know it's in our water. It's been there for a while. We need to get it out. It's been at low levels for a long time, but we declared this state of emergency, and we had to very quickly to build a water treatment plant. It's called a temporary plant because it's made with a lot of big equipment, but some plastic pipes, so not intended to last forever. But we had to quickly get this plant up and running to filter the water so that when we deliver water to our community, that it's safe and drinkable. So we worked very quickly to do that. And of course, a lot of news stories on it, a lot of concern with the community. So we had to do a lot of communication. And that's one of the big keys, I think, in my role as mayor is getting the word out all the time as to what's happening and what we need to do differently. So we had to get this plant up and built quickly. And then from there, we had to make plans to build a permanent water treatment plant, which is under construction right now in our community. The plant is under construction, but in addition, we've got 20 wells around our city that we have to move the water from those 20 wells through large pipes underground to the plant to get filtered and then back out to the community again. So we've got a lot of construction going on and a lot of roads are closed down, and it's all because we need to build this plant and get it up and running by the year 2028 so that water for the next several decades, generations to come, the next 100 years is going to be well treated to remove PFAS from the water. So it's taken a lot of planning work to do the initial temporary plant to what it takes to build this permanent plant, and I won't even get into all the details around the involvement of the state and the lawsuit against the company and how all that was done. It was very, very involved and just took a lot of work and a lot of collaboration. And again, communicating the whole way with our community what's happening and why. So that will be a long process from beginning to end, but in 2028 we'll have it completed and our city will look fabulous once again.
So it's a long rally.
Yeah.
Win in the end.
Exactly.
What's a quick point? Something happened that, people are seeing the benefits now?
Well, we had some questions that came through about people would like chickens in their backyard, in chicken coops. So we went through a process to evaluate, okay, well, we don't have that right now in our ordinance, so how do we do it? So I already mentioned in government, things don't go that fast. So maybe it took a little more than a year, but it was a pretty quick hit.
Relative to the water treatment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That we determine, again, community input, all the things that need to happen to figure out, can people raise chickens in their backyard? So we did develop it. It's not available for everyone in the entire community. So people, if you live on a smaller lot or a regular standard neighborhood lot, at this point in time, you can't have it. But on some of the larger lots, you can now raise chickens if you want and have farm raised eggs. So that was one that was a little bit quicker. Wow. Yeah.
I've seen some of that in my walks too, by the way.
Yeah.
I've seen chicken. I was like, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great story. So, being a public figure, people oftentimes wrestle with remaining relatable, and when I started out my career, it was in public relations. And so, I'm very big on, image and being polished and how you present yourself, even in the classroom with my students.
Yeah.
But I think the downside of that is, or the con of that is that people don't see you as relatable anymore.
Yeah. Well, I would beg to differ on that one because that's I think one of my strengths is that I am very relatable and I'm out in the public a lot. Just for example, last night was our Night to Unite, or National Night Out as it's called in some places. When we were out in communities, overall in Woodbury, we had 65 communities that had gatherings that we sent our public safety team to. And I went with some of our team members out to 4 or 5 different gatherings just to meet with our residents that are having a picnic in the cul-de-sac. And I go and engage with every single one of them. We were in a senior center. It was really fun to go see a community of seniors that have, many times lived here their whole life and are now living in a senior community, or they've moved here from another area because their children are here, and just to talk with them. Yeah. Those are ways that I connect. We've got our upcoming community celebration, Woodbury Days, coming up, and I'll be out engaging with the community. I'm involved in many of our nonprofit organizations in the city, so I make it my point, as an official role as mayor, I'm here to govern and to legislate for our city, but I'm also, in the end, like the spokesperson for the city and the key ambassador for the city. So I just work very hard to get out and talk with people, and I enjoy doing that.
And I do too. And I know people who wrestle with that. I'm very extroverted, and so it's natural for me to come out here and speak, even with my students. I love getting to know them, but I know other people don't. And so what would be your recommendation to someone to say, how do you remain relatable. It also, too, because if you think about when people get in leadership positions, they're with their peers on the way up. And then when they get in these positions, they're not like with their peers anymore.
Yeah.
And that's where sometimes I think people feel disconnect.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice to remain relatable?
Well, I don't put myself on a pedestal for one. One of the things we even do in our city, we create an org chart, of how it all works, and what we flipped it. So the mayor and the council are at the bottom of the org chart. What's at the top is our city, our residents in our community. So, and then again, I feel so privileged to be in this role. And it's an honor to serve, and it's having a mindset of a servant leader, and having some emotional intelligence just continue to be relatable. I think of myself as an everyday person. People are like, oh, how do we address you, Mayor Ann? I'm like, just Ann is fine. And I enjoy connecting with people, and we're all here. We all serve different roles and for a different purpose to make this community work. My role is one thing, but I'm going to do my very best to relate to everyone I connect with. I'm just a regular person in the end.
I agree. I mean, being vulnerable, being accessible, you know what I mean, and talking to people and not acting as if you are better than someone. Like I think all those things factor into it. And when people get in these positions, oftentimes they resonate. They don't know how to deal with it.
Right. I know.
Yeah. And so I know that's going to help somebody out there that's listening that may be like an emerging leader who will be in that position at some point. Remaining relatable, I think, is key.
And just remain humble. Again,
This segment is sponsored by Kowalski's Markets, where it's all about the joy of good food. So I'm going to get you out of here on this question. I ask all of my guests, what is a Twin Cities hidden gem, place, event, or experience that you think more people should know about?
Well, I've thought about this, and I'm going to brag, and I'm going to do a brag, and then point out something else. So I want people to know more about Woodbury. We are now the 7th largest city in the state. It's a great community to live. We are so focused on having great public safety, our great trails program, parks program. 15% of our city is open space and will remain that way. I mean, it's just a fabulous place. We have 180 miles of bike trails. So come and bring your bike or go for a long walk. We've got several lakes around. It's just a beautiful place to be. Plus, we've got some fun amenities. Top Golf is opening up. I mentioned it's going to open up this fall. We got Top Golf. It's the second one in the entire metro area. It's going to be here. They're building a thing called Slick City, which is a cool indoor sliding, program for, well, they say it's for people like 8 to 38. I'm like, I'm older than that. I'm going down the slide. I mean, they are like big, huge slides. It's going to be super fun when that opens sometime next year. We've got golf courses here. So it's a great place to come and visit and just enjoy time with yourself, your family, your friends, what have you. We've got some great restaurants here. So please come and visit Woodbury. It's a great place. But when I have people come from out of town, after I show them everything great about Woodbury, I often take them to Stillwater, and we rent the e-bikes, and we go around. There's a beautiful trail called the Brown Creek Trail that goes up into the woods. It used to be a former, train line. It goes up in the woods. It's beautiful. A little hidden gem off of that is once you take people, and they're biking for a while, and on e-bikes, it's you can go easier or harder, whatever you want. But there's a lovely little place called the Gasthaus. It's an old German beer garden. So I stop there for a beer on a summer day and then come back and keep riding. And then there's a 5-mile loop that goes around over the old bridge in Stillwater into Wisconsin, around through the farms of Wisconsin, and then over the brand new. It's not that brand new anymore, but the big bridge over Route 36 back into Stillwater. So you do just a great loop. So it's Stillwater's historic community. It's just lovely to see. So I encourage people to go check that out. It's super fun.
Those are two great recommendations here in Woodbury and just east of here in Stillwater.
Yeah.
So, Mayor Ann, Burt, I really appreciate your time today and you joining me on Twin Cities Leaders. It's been an honor, really.
It's been great. I look forward to seeing you around more, watching your podcast, and seeing you out on the tennis court.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me on this episode of Twin Cities Leaders. For additional content, you can find me on Instagram at Twin Cities Leaders. See you next week.